Hey, what's up, guys? Big number of you asked me how to treat Smith-Morra with black pieces. So there are many of you who play Sicilian opening with black, whether you play knight or time out of defense or my favorite opening dragon. You just have to know how to play against Smith-Morra players. Those who play Smith-Morra, you know that they always go with d4, c5, d4, they sack one pawn, then they sack another pawn, and when you take, they don't want to go and sack a third one, that would be too much, but they take by knight. And here, there are like so many options for black, but I actually chose one very solid for black that is going to bring you lots of joy, but at the same time, it is going to be extremely annoying for black, for white, sorry. For example, from experience of my students, and you know it's not a small experience, because I've had so far more than 1,000 of guys, most of them have very positive results with the following variation. So they just go knight c6, and when white players go with the knight f3, and that's Smith-Morra typical continuation, they all go with bishop c4, castle, queen e2, rook to d1. So even when you play against the worst Smith-Morra guy, they will all play the same plan. Bishop c4, queen e2, rook goes to d1, and they want to break in the center with e5. It's very important when you play against one opening to know what do they want to do. So basically, when you play d6, they just go with bishop c4. Why on c4? Because just like in Italian opening, just like in some other openings, first of all, it's very active square for white. They just want to go after the f7 pawn, control the center, and in some positions, there are some very attractive sacrifices on f7, e6, or even d5. Here, we have to be extremely accurate. You can't play a mistake, and you have to make the following move if you want to play a system and line that I'm about to teach you. So it's a6. It's a special move. I'm going to make a green color, and it's so important to play a6 in order to, believe it or not, prevent knight b5 by white at some point. For example, when I used to play, and when I was younger, all those bullet and blitz games, I used to make a mistake and play knight f6. I immediately put a red color on this knight f6, and black is almost lost. I don't want to say it's lost, it's way worse for black, but after e5, you absolutely have no good answer. Why? Because if you take by knight, they just capture and go with the bishop f7. With a famous idea of deflection, because you can take, queen on d8 is gonna fall. On the other hand, if d takes e5, you just go with queen d8. If king takes d8, of course, knight g5 and f7 is hanging. They threaten knight f7 and black is just collapsing. And if knight d8, this is the moment to go. Now you go with the knight b5. And this is exactly why we have to go with a6 to prevent knight. What's so special about knight b5? One of my friends played a game, and I also have to be honest and to say that I played a game once with white pieces. My opponent realized that he couldn't stop this knight c7 threat anyhow, and played, you know, in a bullet game, just king d7, let's just play fast and cover knight c7 fast. Knight e5 check. Believe it or not, this king cannot go to e6 due to the bishop on c4, not here because of knight on b5, not here because of knight on e5, not here because of knight on b5. And after king e8, dun 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 dun, knight c7, checkmate. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? And that's why we gotta go with a6 in move number 6. So, when I told you previously, you gotta be very accurate and you gotta be very precise here. Yes, I really mean so. You have to play e6. And why? In order not to allow them early e5 and in order to prevent this b5 idea. When they go castles, you just go knight f. And here, they have traditionally 3 types of moves. For some reason, some guys still think that they can do e5. I played against Luke McShane once, a blitz game. And after e5, it doesn't work now for white. You just capture, and when they capture, you just capture by knight. And when they play knight e5, you just play bishop e6. You're happy to trading off pieces, because you're up a pawn, and the more you exchange, the easier game you're gonna have. Instead of e5, they can play bishop f4, h3, or queen e2. Those are the main lines. So 4 moves. We've just seen e5. e5 doesn't bring them anything. Let's take a look at a move like bishop f4. It's the second most common move by white. Bishop f4 is one of those moves where you have to know very precisely what to do. So you play e6. Here, bishop g4 could be tricky. Sometimes they have some knight d5. Sometimes they have some crazy bishop d5. Sometimes they have queen b3 threatening on f7 and b7. And sometimes they can simply play h3, win the bishop pair, and play a game like this. Here, their queen on f3 keeps an eye on h5, which means that we can never harass this bishop with the knight h5 any longer. And at the same time, bishop on f4 supports some e5 breaks as long as they have the rook on d1 and we have the queen on d8. Those are important things to point out here in order to understand their idea. So after bishop f4, we gotta do first important move, e6. Don't tend to develop the light square bishop because you might have problems with b7 and f7 early against 8 move bishop f4. They go queen e2. They go queen e2 because simply e5 wasn't working, and now they just released d1 for the rook. Why rook f to d1? Because rook from a1 goes on c1 because it's an open file for them. And here we gotta make a special move for black, move without which you can't simply go with any kind of advantage in Sicilians. You play knight h5. Boom. That's so special. That's how you chase away this bishop. And that's how, for the rest of the game, you just have like full control of the center. They can't push e5 any longer. Any bishop g3, you're just going to capture and win the bishop pair, and also inability by white to push e5 for the rest of the game gives us an easy game. And if they go bishop e3, you go bishop e7, rook to d1, and hyper solid bishop d7. Yes, I do want to play afterwards castle. Yes, I do want to play not queen c7. Not queen c7 because they might have rook c1, bishop b3, and knight d5 with the queen on c7. But when I place my queen on b8, so when I go with short castle, I put my queen on b8, I'm going to do both. Avoid those kinds of tactical tricks that are so typical by Smith-Morra guys with a knight d5. And second thing, I want to overprotect d6 pawn. Third thing, I want to prevent d5. Fourth thing, I want to go with b5 afterwards with the queenside action. And fifth thing, I want to go with my rook from f8 to c8 once I play castle and open up rook c8 possibility. This is how you play. Then there is a possibility of h3, so common. Those who like to play and enjoy to play queen e2, and majority of your opponents who play Smith-Morra, they will play queen e2 without h3. Those who experience some problems with that early bishop g4 and the most common idea by black, they will just go with h3. Here, you can't do anything else but to play e6 because your light square bishop cannot do anything else anymore. They go queen e2. Why? Because they've just released the d for the rook. You go bishop e7, and boom, they go rook to d1, and for the first time, very seriously, they threaten e5. Guys, remember, you gotta stop e5. If you allow e5 with this game, it's not for you. Cricket is very popular, baseball as well, bowling for all of you who just so much suck at this sports. So basically, rook to d1, and you gotta stop e5. How do you stop e5? There are no many possibilities. You should never play e5 because it would open up the light square bishop, create a weakness, and outpost on d5, and f7 is going to be weak. So basically, you just go with the queen c7. Queen c7 is the flexibility we need in order to stop e5. At the moment, they can't play. Once again, they play bishop f4, and once again, they want to push e5. One of my students made in the past mistake. it was 1600 guy, played castle. This guy played e5. My student captured and said, Maya, you said we would take by knight. Do you know what happened? After rook to d3, rook to g3, he got demolished so bad that he immediately started to play Smith-Morra with white pieces. I told him, no, that's not a point. Smith-Morra is not that good. Actually, you played your opening that bad. So, after bishop f4, how do you have to play? You gotta stick your knight on e5. Why? You stop and prevent e5 by white, and at the same time, you're just threatening to take the bishop on c4. When they go bishop b3, you go castles, and they go rook c1. Here, all of a sudden, they start threatening knight d5. Since our queen is on c-file, and there are so many very annoying x-rays by this rook on c1. All you have to do is to move your queen. Where? Nowhere else but to a golden place, b8 square, where you keep an eye on b5. You want to play bishop d7, b5, rook c8, and get a very solid game. Most of these guys who play Smith-Morra, they will jump with this knight on d4. Any kind of take on e5, just send them home and tell them, forget about this opening. This is not for you. So knight d4, bishop d7, and now they have two options. Those who play bishop g3 or bishop h2, you just play b5, followed by knight c4, and you just have a nice game. Why did I say knight c4? Do you sack the pawn? Yes. You actually bring the pawn back in order to win the bishop pair. Once you win the bishop pair, they don't have any kind of action, any kind of attack. Well, you slowly but surely get some sort of counter attack and initiative in the game. And finally, we just have to check the most popular move by white players. It's queen e2. Literally 50% of the guys play this queen e2. And I expect that move to be played against you because all these Smith-Morra videos, even the one that I made, I just said play queen e2, play rook to d1, and try to break with e5. Well, against this line, it's simply not that easy and not that possible. So when they go queen e2, they just want to go with a rook d1 and break with e5. Here we go with the specialty bishop g4. What's so special about this bishop g4 idea? So when you play bishop g4, you pin the queen on e2, you pin this knight on f3, and they can play e5 for the time being. They go rook to d1, you play e6. Guys, they cannot play e5 because you just captured by knight. That's why majority of these guys go with bishop f4. Some of them play h3. Well, if you place your bishop on g4 and force them to waste time with h3, always take, play bishop e7 and complete your development. As soon as they play bishop f4, don't you dare to miss the c5, just place the queen. Question for you, where should you place the queen? On c7 or b8? Well, if you paused the video and answered with the queen b8, you were absolutely right, because queen on c7 could be weak because of rook c1, bishop b3, and knight d5 at some point. So you just have to place your queen on b8, and that's the right thing. Then you jump with the knight on e5, play short castle, and be absolutely satisfied with your development. In the case of bishop f4, they just want to finally somehow break with e5. By now, I already taught you that this bishop on f4 should be traded with the knight h5 ideas. So once they go with bishop f4, dun 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 dun, knight h5, you just chase away the bishop on f4. There is a very interesting line. I won already a couple of games. If they bring the bishop back on g3, they lose the bishop pair, lose any kind of attacking potential, and on the contrary, we go with h5 and we want to go with h4 and attack these guys. In the case of bishop e3, you just go with knight e5, and now we want to give a bishop for the knight, break the pawn structure around the king, and it usually works like this. I played like tons of games with h3, you capture by bishop, go with the queen h4, and take a look at this. You just have a beautiful control of the dark squares. You can play g5, rook g8, knight f4, go with the queen h3, and mate them like this. In the case of knight b5, If they ever want to provoke you to take, don't touch anything. They don't threaten it. Just take, and once again, take control of the dark squares. G5, followed by knight f4. At some point, rook g8, bishop e7, and as soon as you move your dark square bishop, you will be threatening to take this knight and, of course, escape with the king there. All things considered, this short lesson was there for you to teach you how to trade Smith-Morra. After this video, I'm pretty much sure, and I guarantee that most of these Smith-Morra guys are gonna hate me even more. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.